Welcome back to Stay Tuned, supporting transition-aged youth. This podcast is brought to you by the Transitions to Adulthood Center for Research at UMass Chan Medical School, Department of Psychiatry, and in partnership with our research sponsor, the National Institute of Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research. I'm your co-host, May.
And I'm your co-host, Emily.
And today we have on Derek Lewis. He's actually been a very long-standing member of our Young Adult Advisory Board. I think last time we spoke, I asked you how long you had been on the board for. Was it since 2016? Am I remembering that correctly?
It was, I think, 2016 or 2017.
2016, 2017. So regardless, quite a while. Yeah, we're super happy to have you on the podcast today because we want to talk about how you use video games and the community you've found through video games to engage in your community, and like what that sort of looks like for you. Because I know that you've spoken about how active you are in the gaming community. So we have lots of questions for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I do have 5 brothers. I have 4 older brothers, a younger brother, and I have a younger sister. What got me into gaming was, well, hold on, let me back up a little bit. So we all live with my aunt. My aunt raised us, and she also used to work for uh, public and social services. So she helped give out like food stamps, cash aid. So she also worked for the county, and all of us were under children's services growing up because our mom was on drugs and on the streets. So one thing that's always been in the household from what I can remember, well, there's 2 things. It was hip hop and video games from way back in the days when video games was starting to climb the charts. Like among my cousins and my brothers, always used to tell me stories about them playing Atari in the early 80s, like early mid 80s, and then the Nintendo system that first came out all the way up until, so for me, I was born in 89. I still remember playing Super Nintendo in the 90s and playing the regular Nintendo that came out in the 80s and Sega Genesis and the first PlayStation. I still remember all of that growing up. And I always say, if it wasn't for my older cousins and older brothers, I would not be in the video games if I didn't see them playing video games. And it intrigued me to play video games as well. In elementary school, I remember playing, like going to Blockbuster Video, getting video games from Blockbuster Video in elementary school, getting whatever I wanted to play for the whole weekend and just play it for hours or more hours as a kid. But I think that just seeing my siblings and my cousins playing video games and us being with my aunt, and she was like, okay, I'll buy you guys a system for Christmas or whatever, because we kept up with all the latest games, growing up. I remember buying PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. I think my first system was PlayStation 3. I bought myself was PS3. But that was all because of it was in the family. And I think if I wasn't with my aunt and my siblings weren't with my aunt and we weren't around our cousins, I wouldn't even know about video games. I had access to them being in the situation I was in, with my aunt and with my family. So I think that's the only way I can tie it in. I was just been around it my whole life and it intrigued me, you know. Uh, and it was a beautiful thing because it was friendly competition at home with football and basketball game. Outside of just doing sports, we play the video game. Let's go play Madden NFL. Let's go play NBA Live. Let's go in there and play. See who and then whoever loses got to give the controller and play against me next. We never played for money or anything like that, but it was just family friendly competition.
For sure.
I'm 5-0 today. Can't nobody beat me today. Stuff like that.
I mean, I think we're all impacted by our childhood a ton, right? So it makes perfect sense that the things you sort of grew up with, grew up playing with are what you're still interested in. And especially if you have so many fond memories over gaming, then it makes perfect sense that you'd still want to continue that in your adult life. So makes sense to me.
Yeah, because even now, my cousins who are in their 50s, still say, well, yeah, you used to play a video game all the time when you were a kid. I know you still play now as an adult. I
Nothing's
said, oh, yeah.
changed.
I said, nothing changed. The technology's gotten a lot better. It's more easy, more accessible, and the games look more realistic than ever. And they're
Mm-hmm.
more complicated. But it's like, now you were doing that as a kid. We remember you 6, 7 years old, stuck on the video game all night. I was at home just, the video game actually kept me off the streets
Mm.
because living in LA, gang culture is big here. The street you can get, it's easy to get involved with the wrong people and be in a situation. So I think that because I was stuck on the video game or wanted to play the video game, I stayed home. I gotta go home. I gotta go get on the game. I'm not worried about all that other stuff no more. I'm not worried about that at all. I want to go home and play the game.
Yeah.
Literally, even my young adulthood, going into my teenage years up to my adulthood, when it was really like active, and it was really, I'm like, I'm going home. I got things to do. I would go home. So I would say the video game kept me off the street.
Mm.
It's kind of like a protective factor as
Oh
well.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, a big one because when you have family and friends, all your peers and everybody around you getting involved with the streets one way or another, and seeing how the streets can or how the gang cultures and everything consume you and make you go down the wrong path. I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me, and he got involved with gangs in the streets at like 12 years old, 13 years old, and to this day he's almost 40 and it still has an effect on him. So, like you said, you think about your past when you think about the decisions you made as a kid. Some of those decisions you made then still have an effect on how you make decisions now.
Yeah.
So me seeing that and seeing what came with that, I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I thought I did at one point in time, but as I got older and reality started settling in, it's like, yeah, that looks like a long path that I don't want to go down. And
Yeah.
once you see somebody go down, then you like, yeah, I'm good. And I look back, I look back 15, 20 years now, and it's like, ooh, I made the right decision. I'm still at home
Yeah.
playing games, and he's still out doing what he do.
Yeah.
It's amazing though. It's amazing. But I have a lot of homies and people that I play games with that said the same thing from across the nation.
Wow.
Even other countries. Like we've all talked about it. People coming from New York, coming from Chicago and Florida. Kind of like how the youth advisory board is. We're all coming from across the country. That's how the game was. We
Yeah.
all come from different places, similar walks of life, different walks of life, but the video game brought us together. It literally like bonded us together, and a lot of my friends I do play with who are older than me, and they're like late 30s, early 40s, some mid 40s, going into their 50s. They say the same thing, man. This video game is the reason why I'm still alive. The video game is why I'm still alive and I'm still here. I'm taking care of my children. I'm taking care of my girlfriend, my wife,
Mhm.
and I have a career, because of the video game. Things
Yeah.
could have been a lot worse.
Man, the domino effect is really so crazy how just one little thing you pick up can change the trajectory of your life.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think that because I'm always think like, why did I gravitate towards? I don't even know why. I mean, I did it as a kid, but then I never because some of my family members and friends that like I grew up with, none of them really gravitated towards this video game like I had. Like I can't think of one person who's been involved with it like me that I grew up with or I've been around.
Recently, in one of our past young adult advisory board meetings, you had mentioned how that when you got married, a lot of
Mhm.
your groomsmen were actually friends that you had met through gaming. I would love to hear, like, how did you evolve those friendships over time? Like, how did you sort of transition those friendships into in person to the point where, you were like, yes, come be at my wedding?
So I think that to start, most like when so I met the guys that were in my wedding. I met them actually playing Call of Duty. I think it was in 2011 or 2010 or 11. Um, and most of the time when you're playing with people, especially playing Call of Duty, people are talking trash on there. they got a little something to say, this, that, and the other. There's always a back and forth on there. Like every opportunity you get, you go in on each other while you're playing. It's competitive, and I think just over time playing with them, we built a relationship, like a good friendship with each other. And whenever they were in town, because I live in Los Angeles, they were like, hey, whenever I come to LA, I'll link up with you, whatever, whatever. So we had actually met up prior to the wedding a few times, like one of my friends actually is a Disneyland fan. He and his wife and then his girlfriend, they used to come down here a lot to go to Disneyland. And Disneyland's like 20 minutes from me. I'm not too far from it. And just me linking up with him constantly over the years and us building like a really good bond and a good friendship. I asked him to be, one of my groomsmen in the wedding, and he was like, absolutely. And then my other friend, he's from Chicago. What's crazy is he actually met his now fiance from Call of Duty as well. He met her from playing together, and they just end up talking and having a gaming relationship, just literally building a friendship. And then he came to LA, and he basically linked up with me when he came here, and then he linked up with her and saw her in person, and the rest is history. They're engaged. They have a 10-year-old. They bought a house together. They live together, and yeah, they have built a relationship from meeting on Call of Duty as well. So I asked him to be in the wedding as well, and he was like, "Sure, we're like brothers for life." Both of them said that, and we all have we all know each other as well. Like each one of them they know each other, and they know me, of course, and we have a really good relationship with each other. Like literally, it's like a brotherhood, you know. And it's been going now for almost 15 years. We've been knowing each other for at least 15. I have, for me and the one from Chicago, 15. That's half our lives already. We've known each other. Yeah. So it's a thing. I mean, but then there's a lot of other people that I have met or I knew from somewhere else or whatever that I game with and been gaming with for years. Or a lot of people are new that I just met and just started gaming with. Some people I have at least 10-year relationships, 10-year friendships with from the video game.
Wow, that's impressive too that you were able to like, make those friends and then like keep them for so long, especially if they started online. I feel like that's definitely not an easy thing to do.
Oh yeah. Well, I would say I would thank God that these people have the same phone numbers just in case they did stop gaming. And I we end up adding each other on social media, or we end up having each other's phone numbers, and then we're sending each other stuff from social media, or just keeping in contact. Like they're both constantly in contact with me now, asking, how's my wife doing, how's the baby doing.
It definitely takes a lot of effort to
Hmm.
maintain long distance friendships like that.
Hmm.
Like what are your tips to sort of maintain those ties and just keep everyone in your life? Because I know it can definitely be really draining.
I think as long as long as we're gaming together, it's like the friendships will always be there.
Mhm.
I think as long as because even some of them, some of how can I say this? Some of our friends don't game as much, and they may have gotten off of social media as well. So, with not gaming as much, with not being on social media as much, every now and then we'll call and just do a check in. Because from being on the game with people, you talk. You talk, you check in, and we're gonna see how everything's going outside of the game. I think that's probably the key to it all with some of the homies or some of my homies is the fact that we do like a mental health check-in with each other.
Mhm.
It's more than just us gaming together. Some of them, of course, don't. Some of the ones I play with don't want to do that, but the ones that are like real friends, we definitely check in with each other through all stages of life. I'm thinking of 15 years, a lot has happened in everyone's lives in a 15-year span. So so I think that if you want to keep the keep the friendship going, keep the relationship going. Um, you just do check in, and of course, you still game with each other. I think gaming with each other or gaming together is probably the thing that keeps it going. Oh, even over different systems, because I could sit back and think like I've always been on PlayStation. That's why I got my PlayStation shirt on today. I've always been on PlayStation with these guys, and we've now graduated or game together through three systems. So we met on PlayStation 3. So we went from PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, now we're all on PlayStation 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I like that too, that you were talking about how, like, yeah, like the friendship they started through gaming, and that's still like a really important aspect of it. But like you kind of took it to that next level also with being able to call each other and like talk about, just like check in on like how life is going, like outside of gaming. And like I think having that, shared interest and shared like experience to like build a foundation is really important. And then like, you're saying like being able to kind of take it to that next level as well and like make sure that these are like actual like solidified friendships and not just like gaming buddies, which that's great too. But then you were saying like it can be helpful for your mental health too if like you can have those people to check in with.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Because I remember like when I first started gaming, I could think it was maybe 2000 when I first started like really online gaming, 2010, 2011. I was literally going through like a depression, like a serious depression. But what kept me or what got me out of the depression was the fact that I was able to do some stress relieving through the video game or through video games just in general, mostly like Call of Duty. So that helped a lot. And but then also, we were checking in with each other, and things were just a little rough at the time. My aunt that raised me was dying from cancer, and then she ended up passing away in 2013. And my my friends were there. They were there going through that grieving process, even at the beginning of it, because the beginning of it was the hardest part. When she first passed away, that first 6 months still was a blur. Like I don't even remember like what happened or how life was. I just know it wasn't the easiest, and it was really rough. But being able to game with the homies, and also being able to check in with each other and just talk about everything, and them understanding what was going on and who I was in my life, they were there for me to help me get through that grieving process. So I always tell people, you know, a lot of people may look at online gaming like it's just a thing, but like we always talk about it. Even some of the new guys that I just met or just started playing with this year, we always say it's more than like a habit. It's literally a lifestyle. And with it being a lifestyle, it's it has its perks with being a lifestyle because you have your like gaming family, almost like they're part of your therapy. They're part of your mental health. I think another one of our friends, his mother actually got murdered. And with his mother being murdered, he told us that being in the chat with us, he was saying, like, this is helping me get through that grieving process of knowing my mother got murdered. And it was real rough on him. But he was like, I love you guys, y'all my brothers for life, for helping me get through this, helping me with this grieving process just by goofing off, just by being like, just helping me laugh and helping me deal with this pain. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know, because he kind of disappeared for a little bit, then he came back. And I was asking my other friend, like, hey, what happened to him? And he said, yeah, this happened. And I was like, oh. And he said, but let's just keep checking in with him, making sure he's okay, and be good friends to him.
Yeah, I mean that's, both of those are like really heavy, heavy things. And I think
Mm.
it's great that you guys were able to be there for each other through all of that. And, like I like what you said too, like your friend was making sure that you guys were checking in on him and just
Yeah.
like seeing how he's doing. I think that's really important. Um, yeah, I mean they sound like really good friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's so important, like you were saying, to have some sort of outlet that you use to let off steam and goof off and
Mhm.
just have that sort of social connection with people who also enjoy your same hobby. So yeah, I think it's awesome you found that through gaming, and for people listening, it doesn't have to be gaming. It can be anything, right? Like maybe you like to knit. So you can find, a virtual knitting club maybe, or like book club, literally
Mhm.
anything.
Oh yeah, like believe it or not, the gaming community is so big and so vast in terms of like variety of games. YouTube is like the goat of different games that are out there. Like I didn't even know there was certain games out there. Like I'm watching videos now of recently I was watching videos of this guy who does there's a game called Planet Coasters, and he does reviews on people that build theme parks on this game called Planet Coaster, and they're putting 200-300 hours in on building their own theme park from scratch, from the ground up, and it's almost like a groundbreaking thing, like the rides, the everything, the details. And I was like, I'll sit there and watch a 2 hour video of this guy reviewing other people's theme parks, and I was like, why am I intrigued by this, because the time it took, I know it took a long time to build that from the ground up, but it's very interesting to see how people's brains work and how they operate and how they want to, they want to do these things and then they want to show everybody that they did it. And it's just like, whoa, this is very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true because, like, I feel like, okay, if we take the roller coaster example, not
Mhm.
everyone, and probably most people don't have the resources to literally build their own roller coaster, but that doesn't mean they don't have good ideas for what would make a good roller coaster. So I feel
Right.
like, was it Coaster World? Is that what it was called?
I think
Coaster
it's called Planet Coaster, but I think
Planet Coaster.
it's not just roller coasters, it's a whole theme park from the ground up.
That is so cool.
Concession
Like,
stand, everything. Like I was like, how did they do this?
that is so awesome. Like, I feel like there's so many games like that give people the opportunity to like put their ideas out in the world when they don't have the opportunity to in actuality. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really
So
cool.
there's another one that's similar to that. It's called oh my god, I cannot think of it. It's City Skies. There you go.
It's city.
City Skies 1 and City Skies 2. City Skies 2 just recently came out within the last 6 months or so. And that's another one where you're building the whole city from the ground up. And
I'm
that
looking at
includes
it right now.
Yeah, that includes plumbing, electrical, how you do how you can get like solar energy. Oh my God, for like police stations, fire stations, schools, hospitals, everything, jobs, or just different types of homes, the income. Oh my, that one is another one that's just like Planet Coaster, but somebody building a whole infrastructure of a city. People building mega cities, building little Los Angeles counties and stuff like that, 3,000 square miles, 4,000 square miles of just a whole city
That
and
is
everything that
awesome.
can go in the city. Theme parks, stadiums, everything, colleges. You see that, you be like, this is crazy too.
That is
That's so
insane.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to play The Sims, and like I also kind of watch those videos on YouTube where it's like
Yeah.
people build these like really intricate houses. I'm like, how did you even think of that? Like the creativity that people have is so impressive with these types of games.
Because I know it takes a lot of. Some people say they put 100 hours plus into doing these things, and they go back to it every day. Go it's almost like a mechanic or an engineer.
Yeah.
It's it's very impressive. Like I like watching stuff like that because I'm just like I don't think I could ever do anything like this. It's too time consuming, but the fact that somebody did do it is very impressive.
I agree. I think I mean, it's like appreciating art in a way.
There
Like,
you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think it
absolutely.
really is art. I think it's been made very clear that online communities can definitely be real,
Mm.
authentic communities, where you can build a lot of lasting relationships out of them. Um, And the thing is, there's a lot of differing opinions about how video games impact people. Like some people think it could be a great tool, a great use
Mm.
of time. And I think, you've shown us today a lot of the benefits of online gaming, but then there's also the argument of um, it's not good for your mental health. And, people are getting too sucked up into the virtual world and not spending enough time on, things that should be quote unquote important in your real life.
Right.
So I was just curious, like, what's your perspective on online gaming and whether it hurts or helps people in the long run? And like, I mean, it sounds like you've ultimately been able to benefit from it, but how
Mhm.
did you strike that balance, I guess?
That's actually what I was about to say was at first, when I first started playing, I didn't have nothing else to do. Or I did have things to do, but I wasn't like working at the time. I was looking for a job. So what I did in my spare the time I had, I just gamed all day. So, but I think as I've gotten older and responsibilities and things have changed, I think that I had like a balance. There's definitely I had to have a balance for it because, I remember at one point in time I was working two jobs, 16 hours a day. My day would start at 5:30 a.m. and didn't end till 10 p.m. at night. Um, and that was Monday through Thursday. So there was no time for me to game during the week. But then when I had like a Friday off and weekends, and then on top of that, me and my wife used to go to Disneyland a lot. We had excuse me, we had annual passes at Disneyland, so we used to go there on the weekend. Um, Again, I would still try to squeeze some time to play in at that time because I was just so every day was something was going on. So I think I had like one day a week, maybe 2 days a week, where I would play. I would now say that was Friday and Saturday, but it was a balance to it because I just didn't have any time to do it during the week, during work hours. I wasn't at home. So I think that, and I think this was at the time there was like a portable gaming, the Nintendo Switch, and I think that was really it. Just like the Nintendo Switch was like the only portable gaming they had at the time. But now everything is you can play computer games on your cell phone. You can download. I can even play my PlayStation 5 on my cell phone, with like the PlayStation streaming app or whatever. But I just choose not to. I choose not to because I look at it like gaming. For me, gaming's always been at home. When I was a kid, watching playing with my older brothers, with the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and the original Nintendo and Nintendo 64. We played all that at home. So because I'm used to the gaming community being at home based, I never really got into the portable gaming thing. So I think that was another thing that was a balance too. Like I could have done it, but I didn't really want to. But just gaming in general, when I was at that time, like even now, like I still try to get on at least once a day. Um, but with my wife being pregnant and me still working and just having things to do during the day, I can't get on like right now if I wanted to. Because I don't have the time to do it. So I think just the balance of your, I guess you could say your priority list. Like I think the priority list is what made me realize like I'm still do it, but I just don't do it as much as I used to.
Yeah, I think that balance is definitely really important. Um, I mean, for anything really, like
Yeah,
we could talk about anything and have balance with it. But yeah, no,
absolutely.
I think and I liked what you said too about like, for you, like it's something that you dedicate time towards, like maybe once a day and like it's something that you do while you're at home or like when you have days off. Like I think that's a good way to kind of like find that balance where it's just
Right.
sort of you have a lot of other stuff going on and you have, everything in your life, but you still kind of make time for something like
Mhm.
that like lets you let off some steam and like you
Yeah,
get to like hang out with your friends. And I think
yeah.
that's really important.
It's a stress reliever. It
Yeah.
really is. Like the gaming can be a stress reliever, and it can, help you with just the stresses of life, especially right now with the way things are going. Probably the biggest stress reliever that I have, besides just taking a nap or something. It's definitely a stress reliever during tough times.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that. I can definitely vouch for that all the way and say it is a stress reliever and it does help with just daily living, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, and you were, talking about how you've met a lot of friends
Hmm.
like through gaming, and like kind of like build that community over time. And like, do you think that there are ways in which like having those sort of communities and those friendships online, do you think that in some ways like people tend to gravitate towards that type of connection, like online over like in-person connection? And like, do you think that having that community and those friendships online makes socializing easier sometimes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess because I'm already a social person, you could say it would, but some people aren't as social. So I would say, I think it depends. I think it just depends on the person because some people may be better with socializing with people on the game in the comfort of their home, compared to socializing with people in person. They could be a different person, like they could have they could have some type of social anxiety like in public, because I have a good friend of mine. He doesn't do well in crowd, like big crowds of people, but he's a very social person. In like a setting where it's just a few people, he's more social. He's probably more social than I am. We're on par with my social, just how social I am. But in big crowds, like I would say, like going to the maybe the mall compared to going to Disneyland, the mall is a little more comfortable for him than the Disneyland would be. Because there's thousands and thousands of people at Disneyland. There's maybe hundreds of people at the mall. So if that actually makes sense, I just think it depends on how social you are in both settings. Because there's also people on the game that aren't as social. They don't have a headset. They don't talk when we're playing. They're just, they're just there. They're not talking about anything. They're just gaming. But then there's people that are like me that socialize with everybody and add people as friends and we'll play a game together and this, that, and the other. So I literally think it depends on the person.
I agree. I think you have to do a little bit of, I don't know, I feel like soul searching sounds dramatic, but just have some sort of, get to know yourself and learn like
Mhm.
how you like to socialize. Like if you think you do have trouble connecting to people in person,
Mhm.
then maybe try out an online community, and then see if you can develop that friendship into an in-person friendship.
Mhm.
Or like vice versa. Maybe online communities don't work for you and you don't feel connected through them. Okay, then,
Right.
try something in person.
Right.
I think there's no one size fits all.
Right. I think it's also a conversation starter too, because um, when I worked at a transitional age youth center, I worked there for 8 years, and a lot of times I wear like a PlayStation shirt or some type of gaming shirt, or even like an anime shirt or something like that, and it's a conversation starter with people who are completely antisocial. They're not social at all, and
Mhm.
one thing could spark their attention, and then there's a full blown conversation to somebody that they said isn't social. So, with that being said, I think it just when I have conversations with other people about video gaming and just gaming in general, they say the same thing like, "Oh, you play this or you play that or how's this and how's that." It's literally a conversation starter and it could turn somebody to a complete social person.
Bring someone out of their shell.
Oh yeah, open them all the way up, literally
Yeah.
open them all the way up. They turn into a different person. You'd be like, wow, they're like this. They didn't talk at all. I was like, I'm just I'm just going off what I do, and they see
Yeah.
it. And they're like, oh, I've done this, or I've played this, and I've done that. Like, oh yeah, you should try this, you should try that. And they're like, it literally is it's very interesting to see. Especially over time, they'll come back and we'll still have the conversations about video games or about anime or about whatever. It just opened up completely. It's a great feeling to see people do that too.
Yeah, yeah. To see it, sort of see what clicks with them,
Hmm.
what gets them to open up.
So
Yeah. Well, on that note, I really want to know, what are your favorite video games right now? Do you have any recommendations for people who want to get into gaming?
Right at this moment?
Yeah, right at this moment.
Okay, so as of right now, I am only playing two games on my PlayStation 5. I have a PlayStation 5. It's actually mounted on the wall over here, connected to the big TV. I am only playing Tekken 8, which is a fighting game. And I'm playing this other game called Helldivers 2. I am stuck full-fledged in this game. It's only been out, what, 2 months now, and I'm over 130 hours played in 2 months. This game is one of the dopest games I think I've ever played because of the way it progresses and degresses by how many people are playing and what people are doing. And we have like orders and this, that, and the other. It's amazing. It's really dope. And it's like
That's
broke
cool.
all the records and done all these crazy numbers and nobody, like, I remember when they announced it and I saw like the preview trailer, I didn't think nothing of it. And then it came out and I saw people playing and I was like, wait a minute, what is that? I started playing it and the rest is history.
That sounds like a fun one to like play with friends too.
Oh yeah, I met a lot of friends just from playing that and people that I'm friends with on PlayStation. Um, People that I am friends with on PlayStation as well, or just on the game in general. They play it and man, it's amazing. It really is. It's a really fun game. I'm enjoying now.
Oh,
Yeah.
it sounds awesome.
Oh yeah. I would say look it up. Look up some videos. You'll see exactly why it's making all the waves. I think they said at one point in time, the servers the servers had 750,000 people on there at one time.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
they had to keep extending the servers because of so many people playing. The game would break. You couldn't get on the server. It was like trying to reconnect. Where they've had to constantly get the servers bigger from like 200,000 to 350 to 500 to, I think it's up to 750 now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's broken almost every record you could think of in terms of like people that are playing it on a regular basis daily, like a daily record of like, I think at one time 350,000 people were playing all at once, one game worldwide. I think it was
Hey,
worldwide too.
that is
It,
insane.
and Tekken 8 as well. Yeah, Tekken 8 as well. I tell people I've been playing Tekken since the first one came out in the 90s. And now we're on the eighth one, almost 30 years later. And I've been playing that one as well. It looks amazing too.
Wow.
So I think those are the only two games that I'm playing. I end up deleting a lot of games off because I'm like, I'm not going to play these games.
Thank you for those recommendations. Those both sound really interesting. And thank you for for being here and for like sharing your story. And it was really great getting to talk to you and hearing all about, you know, your community and video games and how much they've impacted you.
Oh yeah, no, thank you guys. I appreciate you. Appreciate both of you for having me here. Anytime you want to talk more about it, I'm here.
The contents of this podcast were developed under grants from the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, and co-founded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. NIDLR is a center within the Administration for Community Living, Department of Health and Human Services. The contents of this podcast do not necessarily represent the policy of NIDLR, ACL, SAMHSA, or HHS, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. If you would like to contact us, you can email us at staytuned@umassmed.edu and check out the Transitions ACR website at umassmed.edu/transitionsacr. Thanks for being here and be sure to stay tuned for next time.